King Tut came from a line of inbreeding that made the Habsburgs seem normal. I made a separate video outlining his family tree, but what was it like for his sister wife, Ankhesenamun? In this video, we're going to see what marriages you had to endure as the great royal wife of a pharaoh. So if you're new to MortalFaces, welcome. Here on my channel, I untangle family trees and see how people might have looked in real life. Lots more on my channel. Subscribe for more videos and let me know in the comments who you want to see next. Being a royal wife of the pharaoh in ancient Egypt seems like a life worth living for. But what may surprise you is the amount of familiar marriages you must endure, at least in this family. Ankhesenamun was born around 1348 or 1342 BCE as Ankhesenamun and later changed her name to Ankhesenamun. She was born to the royal family as her father was Pharaoh Akhenaten and her mother was the famous Nefertiti. As a royal daughter, she was destined to marry her brother, at least, well, her half-brother. Anyways, that's not for many years to come. In the meantime, she was the third daughter of the pharaoh after her older sisters, Meritaten and Mekitaten. At this time in history, her father Akhenaten outlawed traditional religion and made his own religion complete with religious practices. You see, the priests had become too powerful, owning even more land than the pharaoh, and so he pressed the reset button, and in place of the traditional polytheism, he began to worship a sun disk, introducing monotheism into Egypt, the worship of one god. As a result, he moved the capital from Thebes to another city, Akhetaten, which was later named to Amarna, and this is where Ankhesenamun grew up. Growing up was normal, quite virginal for the third daughter of a pharaoh, enjoying childhood with beautiful fabrics, scented waters, and food. However, this heavenly grace ended around teenage years, and at this point, at 12 or 13 years old, she was ready to be betrothed. But to who, says everyone, who should we marry this third daughter of the pharaoh to? Let's see. Her sister Meritaten married Smenkhare, who might have been her older brother. The second sister, Mekitaten, is dead. Her younger brother Tutankhamun is only 2. So if we look at historical references, her grandfather Amenhotep III married his daughters. Why not go with that tradition and have the pharaoh Akhenaten marry her? Let's skip the father-daughter dance and have a marriage instead. It's hard to tell if Nefertiti was dead or alive at this point because Akhenaten reigned for 17 years. Some say Nefertiti vanished after 12 years, others say she stuck around. And if she was alive, it means your daughter would have married her father, who was your husband, and you watched it all unfold. So that's what happened. And yes, they did have offspring. According to a baby princess's name, Ankhesenamun Teshret, who was born around the reign of Akhenaten, Teshret means born of the king's great wife, and she had the same birth name as Ankhesenamun, which was Ankhesenamun. So Ankhesenamun Teshret is thought to be their child. Not much is known about her though. Then her father died about 1336 or 34 BCE, and she becomes a widow and finds herself freed from this pretzel. She had a few years to breathe, but the priests saw her as a powerful woman and she was ready to bear more children. But who, says the priest, who should marry this powerful princess now? Yes, her half-brother is the next best thing to a real one. So that's who she married, Tutankhamun. He was her half-brother because King Tut's mother was the younger lady who was another wife of Akhenaten, their father. The marriage lasted about 9 years. She gave birth to 2 girls, both stillborn, one at 5 to 6 months, and the other managed to live the full 9-month term. Then, he died at 18, she was 21. I think she earned menopause at this point, but nope, the priest said, she's available. The 18th dynasty royal bloodline is dead because King Tut was the only hope left, much like Charles II 3,000 years later. But the 18th dynasty would live for a few more pharaohs, and this is where things get messy. Ankhesenamun is believed to have married King I, who was Tutankhamun's successor after his unexpected death. You see, this is what happened. King Tut put in his will that his heir is Horemheb, who was the chief commander of the army. His peer was Grand Vizier I. I was old. Even though they got along well and Horemheb, for an unknown agreement, agreed to let I take the throne for the little years he had left, I then tried to make his own generalissimo his heir. This pissed off Horemheb, but he didn't do anything. He knew I would die soon, and when he did, Horemheb, who still had command of the army, took the throne and erased I, destroying his monuments. This affected Ankhesenamun because she chose to marry I instead of Horemheb. She's important because she is of royal blood. By marrying the next pharaoh, she brings the royal bloodline to the throne, and she chose I. So she was also persecuted by Horemheb, and many of her figures were destroyed. But who was I? I is presumed to be the father of Nefertiti. So that means Ankhesenamun's grandfather, which means she married her own grandfather. I is also thought to be the half-brother or full brother to Ti, the daughter of the non-royal landowner and King Tut's grandmother. So I would be King Tut's great-uncle, and Ankhesenamun not only his half-sister, but also his second cousin. So if you think you can handle all of that, father, brother, grandfather, then you're good. It makes marrying your uncle sound like a blessing in disguise. And that brings us to the end of this video. I have King Tut's full family tree on my channel, as well as Cleopatra and the Whitakers and the Habsburgs. Lots more on my channel. Subscribe for more, as each of your subscriptions does help this channel grow. It allows me to continue making more content for you. Let me know in the comments who you want to see next. I do make a list of all your suggestions, and I will see you in the next one.